Okay, so I think that my stream is live now, so people can probably... No, go away. Bad channel. Um... Okay. So stream is live. I'm on the chatting page for the moment while I just get announcements up on various social media platforms, etc., etc. Okay. There we go. Alright, so we are going to be continuing the coloring page from before. Should be just a few while I get this thing going. Okay. Swapping to, there we go, camera. Oh, right. You know what I should probably do? Turn on the lights. There we go. Okay. There we are. Alright. We're just gonna work on this a bit more. I'm gonna try and find a better way to make certain that people can see what I'm doing while I'm doing it, but I'm not hugely worried. Okay. I mean, as I finish each section, people will be able to see it anyway, even if my hand is in the way while I'm working on bits of it. So, and no guarantee we won't be interrupted because I've got kids and roommate and spouse, and there's a reason why I normally stream in the middle of the night, because that's the only time I get mostly uninterrupted. So, we'll see how this goes. If anyone doesn't want to join in, I do have it so that I can actually see the chat, unlike when I'm normally streaming. I do need to figure out, I'm probably going to have to go with the dual monitor setup, which I really don't want to do because this laptop is on a teeny tiny tray table, and I just don't really have. Hello, Alloyed Clavicle. Thank you for joining the stream. I am just working on a coloring page that I got from a cheap little set with these same gel pens as part of it. I've got about... I'm planning for this time to be about an hour. The last one was about 15 minutes, which I just used to test the colors. That's why we've got some spots colored in and some not. So, in the future I'll probably be doing a lot more crochet and sewing than I will coloring. I've actually got one of my sewing projects right here, but this is a, hey, this is my first time doing this as a crafting stream instead of a video game stream, so let's see how it goes with something nice and easy. I won't really be able to type if anyone tries to type to me, because the way that things are set up, my the coloring page is actually on top of my computer keyboard, so kind of limits functionality, but that's okay because you guys can hear me, which that's new and different. Even when I'm doing my tour streams, half the time nobody can hear me, so that's always fun. But since you can hear me, I will be answering back verbally, and I'm sorry about the angle grinder. We have some very crafty people in my neighborhood who regularly use things like angle grinders, and it does make additional noise. The real fun is when they're doing this in the middle of the night. We even have, there's at least somebody that when I go on my walks at like 10 o'clock at night here, will be welding in their garage. So I get to see lots of fun sparks and hear the sound of the welding torch, which does make a sound for anyone who has never been around a welding torch before. They have a very distinctive sound to them. What's that? What were you saying?
I'm talking to myself.
Oh, okay.
I was saying before I sit down.
Gonna go call your...
Give you a little more slack in that cord.
Thank you. That additional voice is the roommate.
I was mostly giving you the extra slack for me.
Well, yes, but I'm still going to thank you for it anyway. They also stream, but haven't been for a bit for various reasons. I will have to ask them if they want me to do a shout out for them. For the moment, though, I'm just going to focus on my coloring. And okay, nope, wrong direction. There we go. Now you guys can see it better. I will have to eventually figure out how to set up shoutouts for my Twitch streams, because I do have certain people who I regularly see, or I stream, or I follow their streams, things like that. As mentioned in my last video, there is Catherine and Zero Reynolds. Hers is Goth Garden Crafts. His is Zero Reynolds. They are both excellent artists, excellent writers, and they both stream. There is Mervin's Musings, who is another very good person who I actually moderate their streams for them sometimes, and they are streaming regularly. They do video game streams, and they are currently participating in the For the Kids charity drive. So, of course, I have been moderating so that they can earn some money for the charity of their choice, which is a children's hospital in, I want to say, Kentucky. But of course, any money earned for children's health is a good thing in my view, regardless, well, actual children's health. If it were for an organization that does like conversion therapy, that's not actually for the health of the kids, even though people claim that it is. That is actually so that they can torture kids who are LGBT to force them into a mold that the person does not actually fit, which is a very bad thing. Okay, so trying to figure out how I want to do these eyes so they actually still stand out despite the silver, because otherwise we're going to end up with a very odd looking unicorn that has no eyes. So we'll see how this goes. Just as an old habit of mine, whenever I'm coloring, I will outline anything that I'm not going to be coloring first to prevent me coloring over it on accident. What I might end up doing, depending on how this looks once it's dried, is I might go back with a different color and go over those gray portions so that they will actually stand out. I've got a nice gold here that I'm using for the stars. That one might be the best one to go with for that. Because we don't want an eldritch unicorn that has no face. Okay, and there goes that angle grinder again. One of our neighbors is a rental property, and the owners of that rental property are currently fixing it up so that it is very oh, that looks okay now that I can see it, now that the gel has dried. They're currently fixing it up, and right now they're in the process of building a porch for it. I swear every time that they get a new set of renters, they add something else to increase the property value of the house. And they just had the most recent set move out, thus the current work being done on the property. It's interesting because we get a mix of, people move in, people move out, never really have a chance to get to know them. And then, of course, we've got the other neighbors in the area who, some of them I know very well, such as the woman who lives catty-cornered to me. She is 97 years old. She is very much the neighborhood crazy cat lady. And I help her, like, anytime she has to go into the hospital. I'll take care of her cats for her until she's back. Things like that. And then the neighbor across the street who we used to not get along with very well. In fact, there were some rather unpleasant arguments over parking, things like that. Because anytime we had people over to play D&D, it would not quite block their driveway, but enough that there were a few times when they backed into one of our friends' vehicles, or if they parked in the street, they would park in such a way that I would accidentally back into one of their vehicles, and it was very unpleasant for a while. Things have been much better since we finally got some we got to a place with them that we understand, hey, you have your needs for space, we have our needs for space. Let's try not to interfere with one another so that everybody can get what they need without fighting. And it's much better now. We actually wave at one another instead of just kind of avoiding eye contact when we see each other outside. And then, of course, there's the neighbor next door who, again, there was... I don't like how that's turning out. I'll fix it later. There used to be some animosity, and it turned out that the person who we had briefly let live with us while he was undergoing a fairly nasty divorce had been lying to her about us. This person also stole our identities and put us in a lot of debt when we had just had new babies, and so it was a very bad time. And yes, he had been lying to this neighbor about us, so she had a very negative view about us. And okay, so I'm gonna be moving this for just a few. That other nostril looks really... oh, that's because it goes that way. Go ahead and... whilst... right here... okay, that looks a bit better. Might as well go ahead and fill in these stars.
Wow. 1 second, let me get out past my roommate who I think is streaming something.
I am, but it's okay, you can talk.
Okay.
So,
I'm going outside just so there's plenty of room to walk around while walking.
the joy of streaming in the living room. Every now and then my living room turns into Grand Central Station. Okay, so... that's a bit better. Now that... and of course I suddenly decide, hey, I'm doing this one. Why not do all of the stars while I'm at it? And some of these are not going to be visible for you guys, which is annoying, but I'm sorry, you will figure it out in a few. Okay. So, okay. And if anyone has questions about the coloring book I'm using, the gel pens, which actually came with the coloring book, etc., feel free to put them in the chat. I will happily answer them. Oh, come on in, Mickey. Okay, so the boys are in their room, I'm pretty sure. Like I said, my living room is Grand Central Station fairly often, so... okay. Somehow, we are the cool parent house. So, my kids' friends come over here regularly. We do all, the kids all wear masks because none of them are able to get vaccinated because they're all only 13, and currently the vaccine is only available to those who are 16 and older in my state. So they all wear masks when they get together, but after many, many months of not getting to see each other at all, they are all very, very happy that they can now at least do that. We just had to wait for the adults in the house to all be vaccinated fully because at least my roommate is immune compromised, and not being vaccinated would have resulted in very, very bad things for him. I'm taking a break on the silver for the moment and doing these little tiny details instead. Okay. Okay. Little hearts. Hearts, stars, and horseshoes, clovers, and blue moons. There's a blast from the past for you. And next week, I'm just letting people know I probably won't be doing a crafting stream at all because it is Mother's Day and I probably unwisely am visiting my parents because they have not seen me since before COVID, and since they are now vaccinated and we are now vaccinated, we're going to go visit them. I say unwisely because there are some issues with me and my family. They are not happy about my transition. I am not happy about their response to my transition, so it's a frustrating situation. They are highly religious. I used to be highly religious, but I'm not anymore, and even when I was, I disagreed with certain parts of the religion, namely the treatment of the LGBT, and go figure, I was LGBT. I just didn't have a word for it at the time because I had never been exposed to people who were trans. It was very much a hush-hush, don't talk about that thing when I was growing up. If it was talked about, it was always discussed in terms of they are sinners, they are going to hell. And it's, at least among my family, still pretty much talked about in that same way. They are convinced that I have turned my back on the Lord, and I'm going to consign myself and my children to hell, and lots of unpleasantness, and that's part of why I don't visit them very often. I mean, COVID is an awful, terrible thing, but at least it gave me an excuse not to see them for a full year, which was nice. And I feel awful saying that, I really do. I mean, I was raised that family is everything. You should always love your family, care for your family, protect your family well. That's great and all, until I found out that if I'm not doing what my family wants me to be doing, suddenly they're not going to love and care for and protect me. They think they are, that's the funny thing. They think that they are trying to protect me from myself, and that I have obviously been corrupted by a awful satanic world, when really I'm just trying to be me. But neither here nor there. We'll see how it goes when I visit them on Sunday. And I'm sure people didn't come to this stream because they wanted to hear me discuss that. So I will try to limit that kind of discussion for the most part. We are making good progress on our little unicorn. Let's see. I've got a couple more roses here in the hairline. And then I'll switch over to the green again to do the leaves around them. Stream is about to get much noisier as I can hear my kids getting ready to head out the door with their friend. So I'm glad that they have the friend that they do. I was actually thrilled when they met said friend, because it turns out that this particular friend has two moms, because his moms are lesbians. Up until this point, the twins had known no other kid that had gay parents, and had been frequently bullied for having gay parents. So having another kid who had lesbian moms meant that they had someone else who they could talk to about it, and not only that, but because their friend is one of the cool kids, they have become much less bullied by having him as a friend. And since he is one of the cool kids, it is now viewed by most of their classmates as okay for them to have gay dads. Because, their other friend who is cool has gay moms, so them having gay dads is no longer such a big issue. There are a few kids who still, try to tell them that my partner and I are going to hell, things like that. But given we live in Oklahoma, that is completely expected. Not exactly a nice thing, but not something that is just completely out of the pale, completely unexpected, Interestingly, I don't think most of the people in my neighborhood know that I'm a trans man. Those that do, are people like the crazy cat lady neighbor, who doesn't quite understand it, but at least does her best to respect it. The others, I don't really interact with them, so it's kind of a moot point. I am covered in glitter from where I'm sitting my hand on this. I would love to live in one of those neighborhoods where we all, get together for weekend barbecues, and the kids all play together, things like that. And at least, the twins have friends who live locally enough that they can walk over to visit their friends and things like that. But it isn't a close-knit neighborhood. There's a few people who are closer knit to one another, but for the most part, it's an older neighborhood, and people just kind of stick to themselves. Those of us that are newer here are viewed, and I say newer lightly because we've been here for 15 years now, and we're still viewed as new. So we are kind of just left to our own devices. Which, okay. I'm hoping that, we're going to be moving here in the next couple years anyway, because we've got 5 people living in a 2-bedroom house, and my partner and I are both working from home, so we just don't have the room that we need. So we are trying to find a place that is within our budget and that is large enough for our household, which of course is harder than it sounds, because while we both make pretty good money as tech professionals, we had many years where we didn't, and so we're still building up our credit from those many years of living in poverty. We are among the unhappy statistic of people who have had a bankruptcy due to medical debt. A few years ago, my partner had 8mm kidney stones that required actual surgery to remove, and that resulted in us incurring debts that we had no way to pay, as we did not have insurance. And we were both working 40-hour-a-week jobs. And, you know, it's sad when people are working full-time and can't afford health insurance and can't afford medical treatment. And so we had to declare bankruptcy. Bye, guys. Have fun. Marshall, did you get your phone?
My phone's dead.
Your phone? Y'all's phones are always dead. Start charging them.
What do you think we do? My phone's always dead.
Okay. So. Alright. At least when my kids go out the door, it's fairly quiet. It's fairly quick, so no long drawn out mess as they do. Okay. So I am now coloring the leaves on the rose bushes. Or, well, I guess they wouldn't be rose bushes, but the leaves on these little roses. And once I finished with those, I now have Painting the Roses Red from the Alice in Wonderland from Disney stuck in my head. Even though I painted the roses pink, not red. But I think once we hit the hour mark, we'll put it into the stream. But for right now, nice, chill, relaxing. Welcome back in. Did you have fun talking to your... Was it your mom or your dad this time? Were you talking to your mom or your dad this time?
My dad. 17 minutes, which is a long one for him.
Yeah, it is. The twins just went out with Mickey.
I saw.
Okay. We're making progress. I think it looks pretty. I don't have the best eye for color. I don't see a lot of colors the way they're supposed to be viewed by others. It's part of my sensory processing issues. So when I'm doing things like this, they might sometimes turn out to look weird to others, but to me they look really good. So, and since I'm basically using the colors that came with the coloring book, I'm pretty sure it'll look good anyway. I do wish the lines were darker so that we wouldn't have this odd, everything basically disappears beneath the colors. I would like the lines to be visible to give things a bit more definition. I would also like for the camera to work better, but oh well. It's a $27 webcam from Target. I'm not too fussed if it doesn't. It actually bought a much nicer camera yesterday and then discovered that I couldn't figure out how it worked, and so I went and bought one that was dedicated solely for webcam usage today. Ran into the exact same issues and then finally sorted them out and realized that, oh, the original camera would have worked fine if I had not been a derp or a person that could not figure out how technology works. That's not useful. Sorry, I'm trying to remove certain words from my vocabulary because those words can prove hurtful to others. And I apologize when I slip up. I will try to catch myself. It's an ongoing process. Many of us were raised using certain terms with no realization of how hurtful those terms were, and are only realizing that they were hurtful as we are getting older and meeting other people. As we leave a more insular childhood and join the global communities, we are meeting new people, learning new things, changing the poor things that we were trained into, that were trained into us as children, and it's a painful process. It's a ongoing process, but ultimately I think that it is a process that will improve the world and make lives better all around. But it is, as I said, a process. Speaking of, I don't have a shout-out set up for it yet, but I will be soon setting up a shout-out. There is an app, or a extension for Chrome and Firefox, that is called Pronouns. You can use it to set up your pronouns so that they are visible to others in Twitch streams, and so you can view the pronouns of others. It's a way that you can, even if you are cisgender, help those who are not cisgender to feel more included, because it means that they don't feel like the odd one out for having pronouns visible. Inclusivity is a good goal regardless of whether or not you are trans. So I will attempt to get shout-outs set up soon so that I can post that link when doing streams in the future, so that it will be available for those who would like to make use of it. So that will be something I need to figure out. I do have some wonderful friends who are very kind and have been helping me with getting set up as a streamer, learning how to do things. I've been kind of playing it by ear up until now, which of course results in some growing pains, some gaffes being made. The kindness of the community that I am a part of is immense, and I want to eventually be able to return some of that kindness, whether it be in the form of teaching people who are new to streaming how to do the same things that I'm being taught how to do, or whether it be in the form of donating to charities like For the Kids, things like that. You know, eventually I want to do much more than what I am doing, though for right now, what I'm doing is just getting started and trying to be as kind, encouraging, and educational as possible. Which, I mean, is pretty much what we all can do to help others whenever we get the chance. Okay. So, flip back around now. Alright, now that I've got most of the bits and bobbles done, we're going to go ahead and finish our unicorn's face. So, speaking of it being Mother's Day next weekend, I do want to shout out to any people who either are mothers, be they physically so, adoptive, or just a sort of protective female influence. A lot of people do not give nearly enough credit to those who are in that particular subset of humanity, but it is very hard work. And whether your children are four-legged, two-legged, born of you, adopted, or more of just spiritual children through, say, being the head of a channel that, or head of a household even, or even just being mama bear for a bunch of people at work, you know. You guys do great things, and are very underappreciated in society, and I want to make certain that everyone knows just how precious you guys are to the world. So, there's my shout out to you guys. Okay. I have been a parent for 13 and a half years, and it is a very difficult and demanding job, and that's just with me being the dad, which, as a general rule, most dads don't take on near as much responsibility as the mothers do. So I know that Mother's Day is basically one of those hallmark holidays that, you know, is just about to, for the purpose of selling flowers and jewelry, but definitely any mothers out there deserve mad props for doing what they do. And okay. So, I think, let's see, we're at the 45-minute mark. I might go a little longer than an hour. I want to at least get this unicorn's face colored in. I will probably post a Twitter poll asking what people want me to do for next week, whether it be a crafting stream to do, well, not next week, but the week after, sorry. I'd briefly forgotten about. I'm so unused to having to go anywhere that the idea of doing so is annoying. Anyhow. But to see if people are more interested in me sewing, crocheting, or more coloring, I'll try to hold off on actually finishing this project until I can do so on stream. I do have a sewing project that I need to finish. In fact, once I finish this unicorn's face, if we've got a little bit of extra time, I will at least demonstrate what I'm working on. It is a mask. That one's not going to be completed on stream because that one I'm wanting to finish before I go to visit my folks. Because I've been using the exact same mask for, well, since I finished sewing it back when COVID started, and I'd kind of like to use a different one. In the time since then, I have made 2 masks each for my kids, and none for me. My partner is annoyed because I have not made them a new mask yet. I haven't made them a mask at all because they had a coworker whose mother was making masks when all of this started, and their mother made 5 masks for our household. At the time I had already made my masks, so it wasn't a big deal for me to just let my partner and kids use those masks instead. They're made in a way that does not conform well to my face. The ones that I do actually have a very specific fit, which my kids and I all prefer. They're double-layered cotton, so they are very secure, and in the event that we have to go to, say, a hospital or a large gathering area, they have a pocket built in that we can slip an additional filter inside, so they're very, very useful in that regard. My roommate, of course, just uses purchased masks, which is also fine. There's no shame in doing that. I just prefer the homemade because I can make them so that they fit my face better and so that I feel more secure in what I'm wearing. This is turning out very nicely. Okay. I have one friend who actually purchased a army surplus gas mask and has replaced the filters in it to use HEPA filters so that it is very secure and very high quality, and that is what they use. I have jokingly said that I was going to get a Plague Doctor mask and ensure that it was properly filtered and then wear that, but I have not, because aside from finding a sewing pattern for Plague Doctor masks, which uses the assumption that you have a working sewing machine rather than doing what I do, which is hand sewing everything stitch by stitch, then, if I did have a working sewing machine and hadn't managed to break every single one I've gotten myself and tried to use, then, using a pattern to make my own Plague Doctor mask out of some brightly colored fabric rather than, plain black or brown. It's a very nice idea to me. I like that idea, but so our unicorn is coming along very nicely. Looks very, very pretty. I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, still got a little bit of time. I'm going to go ahead and do the inside of the ear with pink. I need to also figure out how to do breaks, fade outs, all that jazz. I am using, for those who are curious, Twitch Studio, as opposed to OBS or one of the other streaming methods. I know a lot of people prefer OBS. I just went with what seemed easiest to me, which for me is Twitch Studio. Okay, so here's how it looks for the moment. I'm going to go ahead and put up the colored pencils. That is one very nice thing about this having come as part of a kit, is the colored pencils have a nice little holder for them built in, so I can just put them in that, and then don't have to worry about, well, where did all the colored pencils go? Because believe me, if I don't put them all in one spot, they will disappear, and I will never find them in time for the next stream. I am not a naturally organized person. Just, I'm not. So, which is hilarious, because if you ever ask any of my co-workers, I have the best organized notes. So, okay. Close this. Move this. I'm going to real quick move my water bottle. And there we go. So this is the mask I am currently working on. My cat has already donated some fur to it. This will eventually stretch all the way around the back of the neck and makes for a much more comfortable way of wearing the mask than using earpieces. Let's see. Put my water bottle back and adjust how I'm sitting, because of course I was slouched down. Alright, let's go ahead and let's see. Now last time I was working on this, I was actually outside at a mechanic's shop where I was getting the car window fixed. So I'm right at the point where I need to be switching threads, because I'm down to, as you can see, a very, very tiny amount of thread. So I will just real quick show how I switch threads. So 1, 2, 3 around, and then pull through gives you a nice solid knot. I don't think that this method of streaming is going to work very well for sewing projects, just because it's very awkward to... No. Okay, so doing this again. 1, 2, 3. Might work better with crocheting than sewing, because crochet uses yarn, not tiny, very delicate and thin thread that barely shows up on camera. Okay. Most of this sewing project, like I said, will be done off stream. Okay, so yeah. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I will watch the stream myself later, just to make certain there's no errors and mistakes. I'll upload it to YouTube. Oh, so that's what's giving me that weird clown face. Okay, let's just do this. There we go. Yeah, I'll go ahead. I will end the stream here, and I hope that everyone had a great time coloring with me. Maybe next time, if I'm doing coloring again, you can bring your own coloring to work on alongside me, and we can just all color together. But no stream next week unless everything goes well, and I can get home early enough that I can. There will be still the Wednesday night video game, I guess it's technically Thursday morning, video game stream of Star Wars The Old Republic. We're getting close to finishing out the Imperial Agent storyline, but I hope that everyone has a great week, and thank you so much for joining me tonight, and be safe, everyone.